All right. Should make the other. Good morning, good morning. Sorry we're a little late. Shit crashed on me. Good morning, good morning. Let me get over there. Channel. Hey, hey, hey. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? Hey, Corey. First thing off rip, shout out Celeste Malloy. Did not have praising a Republican on my bingo card. At a town hall meeting in Utah yesterday, Celeste said, and I quote, and again, Celeste is a Republican. Celeste said at a town hall meeting, if we do not get the legislative branch under control, we are going to slide into authoritarianism. First of all, shout out to women. Just want to make sure we throw that out there. Ladies. Okay. And last night, I believe this was in Las Vegas, but I'm allowed to be wrong. Okay. But last night, AOC and Bernie held a gathering um, with a whole bunch of people. 34,000, I believe. Okay, so at least you can hear me. So hey, not a bad way to start a day. If I may, I'd like to think we're fucking going through it right now, right? Um, my live ban on TikTok ends in a few minutes, so that's why we're not on um Clapper, okay? And my video today that I posted this morning was like, hey, we need to, one, it'd be great to get AOC or Bernie on the show, but more importantly, to take the reins for the American Socialist Party for a myriad of reasons. First of all, we already got a logo, we got a badass party name. Uh, we have the fact that we have no money, we have no bank account. We can't be connected to a political action committee or take foreign money if we don't have a bank account. So we're actually in a perfect position for people like AOC and Bernie to say, hey, we could be registered socialists in the United States in 2025. Yeah. Denver. It was in Denver, Colorado. Okay. So yeah, um, they're also going to be going to Tucson, Arizona. So make sure that you're getting connected with this fighting oligarchy tour that AOC and Bernie are on. The crowd sizes are growing in orders of magnitude. I want to point out that this was 3 times as large as I believe the last one. So yeah, the one they had one for 10,000 people in Greeley. It was a few thousand people before that. It's growing. Their movement is growing, and of course, I think that's gonna happen. Okay, so we should be able to go live right now on TikTok. But hello, see how long we can go without getting banned. So make sure if you want to police over Feel the Burn. Hey, I voted for Bernie. Bernie came and spoke at the like downtown outside at the state capitol here in Indianapolis, I believe in 2016. So yeah, 34,000 people. Look at this picture. Showed up last night. Okay. Also, a little bit of war. Morning. Make sure you can absolutely go listen to War. Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope you all have a great weekend. There are about 10 in each room, right? About 20 people we know. Anytime we get to a whole round number, we're going to say, hey, make sure you're getting 8 hours of sleep a day. Okay. You probably need to take a nap. If we're being honest with ourselves, you probably just need a nap. Make sure you eat right, hydrate, exercise. A lot of people that I've met since I started making this show have taken me up on this and have started making sure they're getting 8 hours of sleep a night. Make sure they're eating right and exercising. Okay. Make sure you like this show, share this show. Okay. Help us grow. Right. Appreciate that we're all here today. Morning, morning. Remember, this is a Learn Live on TikTok. Our objective is to inform. Okay. Pam said, I nap every day. You know who I'm super jealous of? I'm jealous of my dogs. My dogs, every time I leave my office, my dogs are asleep. They're asleep. So good morning, everybody. Because there's only 8 and 10 people in here, and I constantly see people joining. So good morning. Okay. Shout out R50501, Protest Finder USA. If you're not on Reddit and you want to be part of this resistance, let me just introduce you to the calendar. Okay. So here's the calendar of events. Okay. Just so you know, we're in the middle of a 40-day target. Um, we're freeing ourselves from target for 40 days. We're on day, I believe it started the first of the month. So I think we're on day 22 of 40. Don't shop at Target. Okay. And then I know a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, don't shop at Target." Yeah, don't shop at Target, and don't buy Nestle product either while you're at it. So for those of you that are big into controlling your spending, um, for a 40-day period, no Target. Last week, for the record, we did a no Amazon run. Now we're amidst the no Nestle. Okay. Make sure you, again, like I said, like this, share this, help us grow. Okay. People, yeah, Corey, Gavin gaining traction. People are sick of this shit. Yep. Yep. So obviously, start the day off with good news, talking about AOC and Bernie in Denver, and then gotta point it out, man. Gotta remember, I wanted to be a pilot or an astronaut when I was a little kid, air traffic control at the least. Donald Trump announced, I believe he's calling it the F-47. Um, skipping some numbers for the record. Awarded Boeing a contract to develop the F-47, the U.S. Air Force's most sophisticated fighter jet yet. Um, he also, Donald Trump said that NATO would be nothing without the United States. And boy, if that doesn't sound like a dare. Um, obviously, one of the things that we've gotta learn from our Canadian friends is we gotta apologize pretty profusely. As an American, I have to kind of apologize. I cannot believe this is what's going on, man. But this is the world we live in. It's very real. So I'm just lucky to be here. Obviously, glad to be back on TikTok. As always, hey, I encourage you go up into my profile and click the link to find my YouTube channel. You should follow my YouTube channel. When we get to 2,000 subscribers, I'll start streaming myself playing video games. Just for something fun, right? I'm already making a daily piece of content at a bare minimum, okay? For the record, if there was more things happening to talk about in the realm of like news and politics, I'd be making more content, okay? Just, I mean, I would. But flatly, I can only, as a person, I can only hold so many stories at a time and talk about so many things because I have to like think about what I'm saying before I say it, right? The more content I create, the more I want to, instead of feeling obligated to do something, I want to do it because it's ready to come out of me. Right? I got something to say now. Right? For me this morning, for the record, for those that are wondering like how does it work for you? I gotta be motivated to do it, right? And Celeste Malloy, again, I'm saying it, a Republican woman, a white woman, right? From Utah at a town hall meeting said, and I quote, and again, as a Republican, if we don't get the executive branch under control, we're going to slide into authoritarianism. So I just want to point out, right? Took a woman, first of all. Have you seen a man criticize Donald Trump publicly? No, they're all cowards. None of the, no, name a man other than like Bill Burr openly criticizing Donald Trump. None. They're all terrible cowards, right? One of the things that I've noticed is throughout all of this, not a single Democrat, not even your AOCs and your Bernies, have called into question the results of the 2024 U.S. elections. And I find that a little odd. Just throwing this out there. Again, it's more of an oddity, if anything else. It's just kind of odd. Every now and then somebody brings it up, right? But it's more of as an aside for those of you wondering what what does Jasmine Crockett's offhanded comments amount to? An aside. Yeah, I can't. It would be a bloodless revolution as long as the left lets it. That's tough. Um, I just want to point out though, much as I've been pointing out for a while, you never notice a lot of the people that are calling for V are not the ones committing V. You ever notice that? The people that are like, it's time for civil war. And it's like, oh yeah, are you gonna be out there? And it's like, no, they're not gonna be out there. They're just gonna be stoking that V, right? I'm learning certain words we won't be overusing anymore. I'm learning. I'll read your terms of service after you ban me 100 times. Okay. So so the UK announces has 25 billion in frozen Russian assets. Sorry, you hear my dog barking in the background. Harris County Sheriff's Office. The son of a trigger warning. And if you were wondering how it's going in the Oval Office, I sent you a video on TikTok about someone's phone video. Hmm. Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah, good to see everyone. Here we are. Look at us. Almost to 30 across both platforms. For the record, we're growing on YouTube as well. I encourage everyone on TikTok Live understand that TikTok does not like us. A lot of the people that come in and watch, yeah, right, Ponder. A lot of people that watch my TikTok are sad when we keep getting banned. And my advice would be to go up to my profile and click on the links and go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm at like 19 something. Got like not that many left to go. See how many followers I have. Like 1970. So I need less than 30 followers on my YouTube channel. We get to a couple thousand and I'll start streaming a little bit because that's what I do when I'm sitting at this desk and I'm not working. I'm typically playing Path of Exile. I'm in maps. I'm like level 80 plus, doing that high level shit. That's what I like to do. Um, high level maps runs, just zooming. People like it, and moreover, it's about the community. So just so everyone knows, every video gamer ever would love to just stream for a job. I, however, have always been told you gotta work and make money regardless of what you want and hope to work toward that. So, of course, I would love to be sort of like a Hassan, right? Where you're just kind of live all the time and that pays your fucking bills. But I got a lot of bills, right? I'm not one of those people that can afford to do it and it not make money, right? I do this expecting not to make money because I think it's necessary, right? I need for myself a place where I can go where somebody's going to show me a news story. I can choose to listen to what I have to say about it. Someone who's not only just reading the title but going to read the article, has pretty good reading comprehension and a pretty good track record of making sure we're sharing like good sources and that you're not being bombarded with bullshit also here, right? Because that's one of the things that I've noticed is that there is not another place that I feel like I can spend my time keeping up with current events and what's going on in the world without feeling some sort of bias, whether it's right or left leaning. And for the record, I don't even fucking see that shit most of the time. As I've been saying, this is very much a rich versus poor thing. If you wondered whose side you fall on, I'm guessing if you're watching this, you're poor, right? Ain't no rich people waking up to watch me tell you that, hey, the richest men on earth who bought this latest election have lost their whole asshole. Closer every day to $1 trillion they've lost. And I know that that doesn't feel like we're winning, that the resistance is effective, but it is to them. It matters a whole fucking lot to them. They're they're scared for their lives. Every CEO at a Fortune 500 company is shaking in their fucking boots. I want you to know that's how great change happens. And again, I want to point out that's also how we go through some painful times as people, as just regular fucking people. So I want to continue to encourage you to participate in boycott, protest, and strike, non-violent means of exercising your right to free speech. And I want to inform you. I want you to come away from the minutes, moments, hours, the fucking seconds we have together. Come away from it with something. John Locke, one of the people that helped write our Constitution, he is famous for having said, I believe, the right to extend your fist ends at another man's face. And so I want you all to understand, right, that if you're to lay your hands on someone in protest, that's considered a violent act. The very people that wrote our fucking Constitution said the right to extend your fist ends at another man's face. So raise your hand in protest. Raise your voice. Exercise your free speech. Probably gather your fucking thoughts, right? Probably gather your thoughts before you open your fucking gullet. But but I want to be encouraging to you and to tell you that protest, boycott, and strike is effective. If I was you and you happen to be listening and you are rich and you are invested in the stock market, if I was you, I'd get your fucking money out. There we go. I've been telling my audience for the longest time, now is the time to get your money out of banks, get your money into credit unions, and I'm even advising people to open multiple accounts. Why? The current administration is attempting to delegitimize and tear apart the FDIC. The FDIC secures regular banks. Okay. Now there are certainly FDIC regulated fucking credit unions. That's even fucking better. Okay. Yes, exactly. Protest, boycott, and strike are intensely American. You know what else is intensely fucking American? Immigrants. This is a nation of immigrants. If you live in the United States, you are probably, and when I say probably, that's a fucking heavy goddamn probably, are an immigrant. Especially if your skin is white. Arguably white, black, and Latino, all immigrants. The only non-immigrants in the United States are Indians, American Indians. Just making sure we say that. And also, while we're talking about it, and we're not actively being banned on TikTok for talking about this. Okay. In addition to talking about this being a nation of fucking immigrants. If you go back far enough, we're all cousins. The Marine Corps, no, is not racist. People are racist. Do you understand that there's a difference between what the organization or the United States Marine Corps teaches its people versus how people behave, and sometimes how people behave is outside of what the Marine Corps would have you do and believe? I can assure you this. In my time in the Marine Corps, in 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines Weapons Company, the most combat deployed unit in Marine Corps history, I am not a war hero, but I fucking know some. The boys I served with would have no part of racism. In the finest, in the best. I'll say it. I'll say it. I'll say it with my whole chest. People got out of special forces to come to 2-2. Do you understand? The unit I was in, the best of the best came to that unit, wanting to be around those people that had all that experience. Okay? And I can promise you that any outward racist shit got dealt with. Okay? Somebody said the bloodshed in battle is thicker than the waters of birth. Yeah. I've never really been a big believer in blood being thicker than water. You know what I mean? I've never put my family atop the heap. You know what I mean? Because they didn't do that for me. I've always put the people that support me and are around me, right? The people that I feel and see regularly that speak to me, right? My dad, my father will never see this show. My mom probably never see this show. Here we go. My brother will never see this show. Hopefully my brother's kids see this show. And you see that all I want is for everyone to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. Okay? That's it. Instead of the removal of DEI, I fully support diversity, equity, and inclusion because as a disabled veteran, DEI impacts me. I know that you racist motherfuckers out there think that DEI only impacts people of color, but understand that 54%, over half of all recipients of DEI based initiatives are white women, white people. So, again, one of the things that's starting to become a pattern here in the old US of A is white people owning them fucking selves over and over and over and over and over again with their vote. Self ownership. Yeah. Tax on DI is disproportionately impacting veterans. Again, CE said you're my first cousin. Fuck yeah. Okay. So when you ask, like, was the military fucking racist? No. No. Are people fucking racist? Yeah. People are fucking ignorant and racist, brother. Do you know I had friends when I was on active duty that came and hung out with me because I didn't use racial slurs. I like you, Malat. You don't call me the word. And I'm like, what? And what's funny is everybody says that's just a Call of Duty chat lobby. And it's like, no, no, for some people, they use slurs, comes out of their mouth all the time, can't help it. Because they've never been punched in the face. Good to go. If you're willing to say it, you better be ready for a knuckle motherfucking sandwich. And if you're not, incoming. Incoming. Semper Fi, John. So they're gonna cut a bunch of jobs from the VA. Damn shame. I tried to work at the VA. I'd be really fucking loud right now too. I'd be really fucking loud too if I worked for the VA. I'm loud anyway, right? I'm here. There's 46 people in our TikTok live. Love y'all. 50 people now. I wonder if the military will defend the Constitution in the coming years. So one of the things you gotta look at is the some of the last orders Joe Biden passed before he left office, um, putting people uh, in order of secession. One of the things I wonder, Flame, I wonder when Americans will realize that capitalism is violent. And I think, hmm, anyway, was saying capitalism has reached a point of maximum violence when DoorDash now has a pay as you go option. When you are financing your food, we have reached a point of violence within the capitalistic system that we live in, where people said that's not capitalism. Where financing your fucking groceries isn't capitalism's fault. Oh please, Red Pill Inc., enlighten me. Nah, better yet, let me just stop. Let me just stop. Chrissy said, "Can you tell me what late stage capitalism means?" Can you? Before you ask me, can you? Okay. That's why you asked. Okay. So there are four stages of capitalism. Hey, every now and then you got to be like, when somebody asks you to define something, like, can you define it, or are you being sassy? There are four stages of socialism. Okay. There's mercantilism. This was the 14th and 18th centuries. Okay. There's classic capitalism, which is the 18th to 20th centuries. There's Keynesianism, or state capitalism, um, the 20th century. We're talking about following the Great Depression. Okay. And then there's global capitalism. That is the fourth stage, the late stage of capitalism. Increased globalization, international trade, and financial markets with multinational corporations playing a major role. Okay. Okay? The core principles of socialism, syndicalist socialism, is what I believe is the path forward for the United States of America, for this land. We need to get away from capitalism. The Republican and Democratic parties in the United States both belong to capitalism. They both support this movement. They are both controlled by billionaires. Some of the same people control the puppet strings on the right and the left. Although I do believe there is a strong in what country has socialism worked. You're free to do that research on your own, but there are plenty, and by I mean plenty, of developed countries with socialism in effect. And understand the CIA in the United States exists to kill socialist leaders. But Finland is a great example. The Netherlands is another example. There, 33 of 34 developed countries have socialized medicine. And understand what socialism is. And since I know you can't define it, I'm going to do that for you. Socialism is any egalitarian, and so we got to define egalitarian, right? Egalitarian, to break it down Barney style for you, just means pro equality. Half capitalist doesn't make any sense. Capitalism is but an economic theory. So saying, oh, it's half capitalist doesn't actually mean anything. We live in a capitalist world. That's the planet we live on. Well, gee, I didn't write it, upper management. Great question, though. And housing and fresh food. Yeah. So keep in mind, socialism is any no there that's a logical fallacy. Here, look. Yeah, you have three followers. Like there's a reason why. But yeah, socialism is any egalitarian, which means pro-equality, movement that can be an economic theory, it can be a social theory, it can be a political theory. So understand when you say capitalism, capitalism isn't a political theory. Capitalism isn't a social theory. Capitalism is an economic theory. Okay? I'm defining it for you. So those people that are like, what is socialism in the chat? Listen, listen. Any egalitarian or pro-equality movement, whether it is a social movement or a political movement or an economic movement or theory that has to do with seizing the means of production, okay, and social ownership of business, okay? So think about it, what I'm saying. When we talk about capitalism, yeah, when we talk about capitalism, remember that is an economic theory vouching for private ownership of business and private control of corporation, meaning that there are corporations in the United States. Cool story, and it outlived its purpose long ago. Okay? So what I'm for the record, the funny thing is you're going to have people argue against this. I want you to argue against the socialist economic theory that suggests that rent, interest, and tax are derivative of your labor and should be eliminated. Also, I want you to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. So argue against those things, knowing that we can afford them, and asking if we can afford those things. No longer a question. We can afford them. If we can give all that money to Elon Musk, we can afford socialism. So next question. I just want to point that out. I the socialist economic theory says that rent, interest, and tax are derivative of your labor and should be eliminated. I want you to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. I want you to tell me that you don't want those things and you don't want those things for the people to your right and left. Tell me again how socialism doesn't work for you in your brain head, okay? So think about how much would it save you if you didn't. That's not how it works though. If we legalize cannabis, we could pay for socialism. A small change to the tax code pays for socialism. You would actually save over $8,000 on average per year, and it would only cost you about $2,000 per average per year in your taxes. So anybody that says socialism is not affordable doesn't know what they're talking about. The math's already been done. We're already past the equal sign. Now we're just looking for a way to implement. The way to implement socialism is through what's called syndicalism. I don't care what you want. I care that there are people starving and there are people homeless and there are people that can't get an education because of the cost. There are people that will never own houses because of the rising cost. And instead of just laying down and saying, "Oh, woe is me, I don't want my taxes to go up. I don't Here, I'll make it easy for you then. Our relationship's not going to work out. I'm just letting you know, okay? I don't I don't care what you want. It's it's not about you. It's about us. It's about us surviving. Understand right now, one of the things that we enjoy in the United States is the ability to, yeah. So understand there's not good arguments against socialism. The we can't afford it argument is not a good argument. We're already past the equal sign. We're going to go ahead and reset since people can't handle being told, I want you to have universal healthcare, education, income, and housing. I want that for you. Think about how much not having to pay rent would do for you personally. Think about that. For most people, that's a couple $1,000 a month. Think about what healthcare costs you. Few $100 a paycheck, right? What if you didn't have to pay that? What about your education? What about those of you paying student loans right now? What if you didn't know? What if you didn't know what a student loan was? What if that wasn't in your brain housing? I'm going to reset because we've been restricted for talking about this. You need to go up to my profile and go to my YouTube channel and go to YouTube and watch the show so you can click on the links that I put in the chat. Okay? Because people don't like it when we talk about socialism. Okay? Love the GI Bill. That's a form of socialized education. And that's what's selfishness and greediness. You got a bill for refusing an ambulance ride. I mean, I believe that because I worked in healthcare. BRB. But yeah, I definitely believe that. Protest against Fetterman yesterday at Independence Hall, over 100 but oldie but goodies. Very disheartened by the universities and law firms. Yeah, it's funny to see all these people just lay down. It's pretty sad. But I notice it's mostly men just laying down for this regime. You know, there's a lot of people that are just afraid, and that's gonna happen. And by the way, there's people out there that are like, socialism will never work. If socialism will never work, riddle me this, Batman. Why then was one of the first American universities to go tuition free based on income Harvard? I want you to write me 1,500 words why socialism won't work through the lens through the lens of Harvard was one of the first American colleges to go tuition free based on income. Harvard. That's an Ivy League school, the tippy tip top of the education system in the United States went tuition free based on income. I want somebody to write how socialism won't work when the literal tippy top of secondary education in the United States went tuition free based on income. You can't argue against it. Okay. This is an interesting list. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We're back. We got restricted for whatever we were just talking about earlier. Major executives. All right. Elon Musk, 290 million to Trump. Timothy Mellon, 150 million. The Adelson Clinic, 106 million. Linda McMahon from the WWE, 16 million. Hendricks Holding Company, 15 million. Bigelow Aerospace, 14.1 million. Perlmutter Foundation, 12.4 million. ABC Supply, Cantor Fitzgerald, Uline, Pratt Industries, British American Tobacco, Southern Waste Systems, Elliott Management, Andreessen Horowitz, Vital Inc., Ripple, Timothy Dunn from Crown Quest, Jeff Sprecher and Kelly Loeffler, Phil Ruffin, Jimmy Johns, I'm assuming that's Jimmy Johns, Jeffrey Palmer, Bernard Marcus from Home Depot, Robert Johnson, New York Jets. So if you ever wondered what a shit organization looks like, I'll take the one employing Aaron Rodgers, firing Robert Salah, who, by the way, Robert Salah he's Lebanese. Okay. Robert Salah is Lebanese. Okay. And also, when he was terminated, many people said he was not the problem. Just want to make sure that we say that. Okay. So this was a list of Trump donors. The Winklevoss twins, the people that helped found Facebook. Kenny Trout, George Bishop, J. Joe Ricketts, Chevron, Robert Hood Markets, Andrew Beal, Don Ahern, Roger Penske, Steve Wynn, Richard Kurtz, Antonio Gracias, Douglas Leone. Here's some $1 million donors. Meta, like we said, get rid of Meta, Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, Ford Motor Company, General Motors. These are all Toyota, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Kraken, Coinbase, Ondo Finance, Boeing, Qualcomm, Galaxy Digital Holdings, Crypto.com, Paradigm Operations, Altria, Pharma, Pfizer, him and hers, Johnson and Johnson, Bayer, National Association of Manufacturers, AT&T, Comcast, Charter, Verizon, Carrier, Intuit, Coupang. Here's some $500,000 donors to Donald Trump. GE Vernova, Q Cells, Ericsson, Core Civic, the Geo Group, Abbott Laboratories. Here's your $250,000 donors. PayPal, HCA Healthcare, Oklo, Coca-Cola, American Beverage Association, Syngenta, Eternal Flavors and Fragrances, Elevance Health. Here are the $100,000 donors. American Clean Power Association, Instacart, Airbnb, Socure, and Barnes and Thornburg. So that was a list of large donors to Donald Trump. For those of you wondering, like, why did you just read that entire list of evil companies? Good morning, good morning. Remember, as I've said before, make sure that you eat right and you exercise. Okay? Hydrate. A lot of people that I've gotten to know since I started the show have started doing what I'm doing, and they're getting to the point where they're starting to plateau. Okay? I'm no longer getting faster. I'm not getting stronger. I'm just tired. Perfect. For the record, when you're tired, that just means you need rest. Rest and recovery is vital. Did you know that when you're young, when you sleep is the only time your body secretes HGH, human growth hormone? That's how you get bigger and taller and faster and stronger is sleep. That's how I coach high school kids. Is I tell them you got to become a sleepy baby. No more staying up all night playing video games. We got to get a good night's rest. It is absolutely imperative that you do that. And understand, I don't ever get sick. I can only empathize and generally empathize and say, I'm sorry to hear that you're ill. It's, hey, I'm not opposed to just sleeping it off. You know what I mean? Semper Fi. JJ Hardell. What's up, brother? So, rest in peace, George Foreman. Um, insert quippy George Foreman joke here. I will say that the George Foreman grill is what got me here. Literally, I probably used the George Foreman grill for 15 years of my life. The worst part of owning a George Foreman grill is cleaning out the grease trap, which was literally just a little plastic tray that I constantly was worried whether or not it was going to melt to the cabinets. Um, and frequently um, was not the most stable way to carry the grease from whatever he was making. But yeah, George Foreman died. He was 76 years old. If you don't know who George Foreman is, I'm sorry to hear that. He's a great boxer. If you don't like boxing, that's okay. It's not for everyone. And hey, there's a good 30, 40 people in here. Lost it all. Thanks, Ronnie. I don't know. If you're wondered how Donald Trump's been doing lately, consider that yesterday Donald Trump said he did not sign uh, that Alien Enemies Act. And again, one of the reasons that you don't see me attacking Donald Trump like every day in all my content and shit is because of shit like this. Donald Trump floats sending Americans to foreign prisons. And also, I want to send a heartfelt apology out to my Venezuelan friends. Um, uh, again, I'm going to say things like allegedly and apparently. Donald Trump deported 200 Venezuelan Americans, even including American citizens, based on a tattoo, from what I understand. So 200 people in the United States with an unfortunate tattoo and being born in the wrong country may have also been illegally deported. I just want to continue to point out that deportation is a crime against humanity according to the International Criminal Court. And Donald Trump campaigned on mass deportation, and people voted for this. Understand that, I'm going to say it again. Deportation is a crime against humanity according to the International Criminal Court, and Donald Trump campaigned on that, and people voted for that. Got to be one of the more shocking things to find out about people that you care about. Now, understand, in my opinion, based on the way, yeah, Joanne, um, there's a reason that I don't openly go after. By the way, Eddie Mitchell, everyone in my comments, saying hell yes, I voted for that. AJ Morant said, "Oh yeah, a lot of those people still have family members that will be greatly affected by that." Hey, one of the things that I say every day is, "My God, the leopards eat leopard face." Um, cannot tell you how many times I've saw a news story and been like, that person voted for their own removal, their own expulsion from the United States. I saw. I'm trying to remember. Um, one of the members of like Latinos for Trump, literally one of the flagship like members, right? You know right from wrong. They had time to become a citizen if you're not. Wow, wow. I wonder what that life is like. Exactly, AJ. Yep. I was pretty sad for a long time. I was pretty depressed because I didn't have a relationship with my old man. And the year Donald Trump got elected, so the first time, 2016, um, my dad kind of came out as a racist on the internet for the world to see. I believe it was a staff sergeant or a gunny of Marines in San Diego got deported. This was Donald Trump's first term. And keep this in mind. He was you gain citizenship as a result of service. Um, he'd just changed duty stations a bunch, and I'm gonna give empathy to someone that's on active duty in the Marine Corps. I'm gonna say like he had a lot of shit going on. He had a great career going on, and he got deported. And I posted it on Facebook. This is what was the beginning of the end for me on Facebook. I posted that on Facebook and I said like if you understand, like I was in a Marine Corps on active duty, and somebody like this staff sergeant or this gunny was my leader. They were in charge of me. And they deserve the same level of care and empathy that the lowly non-rate, non-NCO that we have so much empathy for, and young NCOs that we have empathy for, right? No, they always say nobody gives a fuck about an E5 sergeant, right? Well, how do you think they feel about the E6 staff, the E7 gunny, right? Them E8s and E9s are like the gods of the fucking enlisted, so of course everybody gives a fuck about them. But generally, the perception, of course, from the within is they care a whole lot about like E4 and below. They don't give no shit about like E5, E6, E7. They don't give no fucks about them people. And then E8 and E9 are like the fucking gods of the enlisted, and they basically run everything. and the officers don't have nearly the experience that those high ranking enlisted do. So again, even in the infantry, those officers are learning from those high ranking enlisted. So the reality is your hope on active duty is that you have excellent enlisted leadership at the E5, E6, E7 positions because they are like the forgotten ones, in my opinion, as somebody that was on active duty in the Marine Corps during a time of war who spent most of my time around people much higher ranked than me, meaning I wasn't the peon director out in the parking lot. I was the one in the building helping them do all the math and shit. I'm a Purdue alum. You understand it? My time in the Marine Corps, probably not like a lot of other people's. A lot of people got treated like shit and got hazed and had duty all the fucking time. I had duty when my platoon commander had duty. He pulled me. Hey, I got called for fucking duty. You're gonna be my NCOIC. And I'd be like, I'm not an NCO. And he'd be like, give a fuck. You're with me, Mala. And when he had his once a month duty. A lot of people got fucked. Their weekends got taken away. They got treated like shit. I did not. But because I had excellent fucking leadership at E5, my sergeant, our chut, had left Force Recon to come to, again, like I said, Special Forces Marines left their unit to come to my unit, to come to Tutu. My sergeant, Sergeant Archut, had been in Force Recon. My staff sergeant was my platoon commander, so my enlisted leader, my staff sergeant, was filling an officer's role. My gunny, I made his coffee in the morning, so I was good with I was good with the gunny. I could make a cup of coffee. And I believe he was transitioning as well. And when I say transitioning, I believe he was transitioning to another unit or out of the Marine Corps, one or the other. Um, and also veterans. One of the things I learned that increasingly pisses me off. Do you know who makes up a considerable percentage of trans people? Veterans. Veterans transition at a higher than average clip. So I would argue it's the people that know themselves the most and know themselves the best, veterans, most capable of making that transition and thriving, right? And also the most targeted, right? Because obviously Donald Trump is attacking education, he's attacking veterans, he's attacking the trans community. Why? Because they are the smallest measurable group of people in the United States, other than remaining surviving Trump uh, voters. Okay. Fucking crazy. Here's the media, here's the Guardian. The It's almost like as the Titanic sinks, here's the Guardian saying Trump administration's sliding into authoritarianism, and it's like the enforcement or advocacy of strict obedience to authority at the expense of personal freedom is a political system characterized by the rejection of political plurality, the use of strong central power to preserve the political status quo, and reductions in democracy, separation of powers, civil liberties, and the rule of law. Like, what do you mean sliding into authoritarianism? They've been full on authoritarianist this entire time. What up, T Wing? Hell yeah. And again, that was one of the observations I had from my experience at the veterans protest on March 14th. Um, as somebody that had been saying Donald Trump is an illegitimate president per his violation of the 14th Amendment, Article 3, he not only organized, but he participated and cheered on an insurrection. What happened on January 6, 2021 was an insurrection. How much they pay me for my live? I actually do this as a service, Alaska man. Um, I'm a socialist. I'm not a capitalist. I don't take absolutely everything that comes out of my mouth is not meant to make money for myself. In fact, I'm gonna grow a garden and give it away. I'm gonna put up solar panels on my roof. I'm gonna put so many solar panels on my roof that I could power multiple homes in my neighborhood. I want everyone to have universal healthcare, education, income, and housing. The socialist economic theory says that rent, taxes, and interest are derivative of your labor. I'm not in the military. I don't take orders. 3,000 per live. Mm, that's cute. What others? Nobody's throwing around that kind of money. Not to me anyway. We get banned too frequently. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a socialist. I'm the founder of the American Socialist Party. Which means that I'm pro equality, pro union. I want everyone to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. I think that rent, tax, and interest are derivative of your labor and should be eliminated. I'm not a capitalist, nor am I a Democrat. I am a socialist all the fucking way. hmm I don't believe in violence as an answer. You understand, again, socialism is any egalitarian or pro equality theory, whether economic, social, or political, talking about the C's are the means of production, which I'm a syndicalist. So I'm just pro union. That, hey, that's how hard are these hurdles that I'm setting up for you to become a socialist yourself? How hard is it for you to be like, I'm totally a fucking socialist? Hey, if you think that if you have friends that are part of the LGBTQA, the LGBTQIA plus community, if you have friends that you care about and you vote in their interest, that's egalitarian. That's pro equality. If you think we live in a two-tier justice system in the United States where the rules do not apply to rich people, but they certainly fucking apply to us poor folk, right? Right? If you're pro equality, if you're pro union, are you pro union? Do you think that unions are a good thing? Do you think unions whose job it is to improve the pay and benefits for workers, do you think that's a good thing? You're a socialist. Do you want to join a group of people? Do you want to join a group of people who see companies like Tesla see their stock crumbling and say, what if I was part of a political movement who wanted to seize the means of production? How do we do that? That's not how that works, Alaska man. And here, I'm going to help you. Okay. So if you're pro equality and pro union, if you understand, so okay, I'm pro equality, I'm pro union. You're a syndicalist, socialist, okay? When we talk about seizing the means of production, that would be like a group of people buying a stock as it crashes, taking over the ownership of a business and riding the ship. Like Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter, which should be a big portion of our conversation today. Got to get off Twitter, got to divest from Twitter completely. The takedown of Tesla is happening. Whether you do anything or not, that stock is shot. It's going to keep falling. There's an absolutely when the founder CEO is begging shareholders to hold their stocks, it's over. It's over. How do I know? I worked for companies that the only time they ever pushed their stock is when it was crashing. The only time I've ever had stock pushed on me as an employee or as someone holding stock to hold is when it's crashing. They're never telling you to hold when it's booming. Hey, great time to cash in. They don't do that. Exactly. Benefits for the worker. The owner of a business has a responsibility to their workers. Exactly. So if you're pro equality, pro union, if you can understand, meaning you don't have to do it, but if you understand, if you're pro equality, if for the record, if you understand that DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion are good things, that understand the majority of people benefiting from diversity, equity, and inclusion are white women. That's the largest group of people benefiting from DEI are white women. The second largest group of people DEI impacts veterans. So understand if you're against DEI, you are literally against 99% of the people you're going to run into. Because I'm willing to bet if you cross veterans and women, that's most of us. That's a majority of people. Okay? So understand if you're pro equality, Jared, that just makes sense. I'd rather do business with DEI, right? I'd rather do business with a company that has a DEI policy than do business with a Target who bends the knee, kisses the ring, and removes their fucking DEI policy. And for the record, that's my money wasn't going to go there anyway. Okay? So you're pro equality, you're pro union. Yeah, Jared, that makes sense. And all a syndicalist thinks, you know who makes great political leaders? Union leaders. People whose job it is to manage the pay and benefits for a group of people, right? Also to be like a morale thing, have another avenue of sort of talking about complaining about your leadership so you can make change, right? It's not just capitalism, it's supremacy. Yeah. This is bureaucrats. Not the real Pete Buttigieg. Love it. Where's nauseous ambiance? I'm summoning them. That's like one of the best screen names I've ever seen, ever. Yeah. They want babies and not women working. 100%. Okay. Big Jim and Mama D. Hey, vets. Hey, fellow vets. But yeah, that's one of the things we want to get across here because there's lots of people that are like, I could never be a socialist. And it's like, do you even know what a socialist is? And they say no. I don't know what that is. Okay, so we got to talk about what is the economic theory of socialism. I can break it down for you and make it real easy to swallow. Rent, interest, and taxes are derivative of your labor and should be minimized. There. I've now explained the socialist economic theory according to Hodgkins. Okay. Now, there's social theory, there's political theory, right? Overwhelmingly, though, we're talking about the seize of the means of production and social ownership of business. Right now, what we live in a capitalist regime is we have private ownership of business and private equity, and that's what's fucking killing us. And they're taking a bunch of money from us, and they're absolutely have run roughshod through the middle class. Okay, and what you can do instead is not do business with corporations that specifically ones that are involved on the stock exchange and try to do all business locally, socially, right? That would be the social ownership of business, seizing the means of production is just within this front marketplace is where the people rise up and own a business rather than a few people, right? Public, not no, it's not so much public ownership. We have public ownership of business, right? That's called the stock exchange. Social ownership of business is when a group of like-minded people control and operate a business. That's social ownership of business. This means I want socialists everywhere, permeating society everywhere, particularly in business ownership and unions, right? Why? Because it's people that have owned small businesses and run small businesses that know how people work the best because they have to be able to deal with their own employees and customers, right? So when we talk about the redistribution of wealth, we talk about socialism in the framework of socialized healthcare, education, income, and housing. So the way we redistribute wealth is called universal income. In Denver, Colorado, over a 2-year period, they gave 500 families $500 every Friday. And the data that came out of those 500 families is that 42% of them, so a little less than half of those households, either got married, bought a house, had a kid, or got a college degree in a 2-year period. So if you wondered, what does the redistribution of wealth look like? How about everybody gets $500 every Friday until you don't need it? Decided by you. And by the way, people keep saying like, "Oh, we can't afford socialism." Yeah, we can. Small change to the tax code, or we could just legalize cannabis and get this party started, right? There's a reason that I think that you have to break away from the Democratic and Republican parties altogether. The bottom line is they're both slave to capitalism. We did UBI experiment during the pandemic. It energized the economy. Exactly. That's what I was talking about in Denver specifically. Hmm. So yeah, my goal is to get AOC and Bernie Sanders on the show, and get them to become members of the American Socialist Party. Before there's the ability for any corporate interest, there can't be corporate interest. We can't be supported by PACs because we don't have a bank account. And there's a reason that you do it, is that we will do those things. We'll get a tax ID, get a bank account. You can donate your little heart out. But if you have the money first and then you go to them and they don't know where the money came from, I wouldn't work with you. I'm telling you. So our goal here, okay, is to get AOC and Bernie Sanders on the show to have this conversation, talk about what's wrong with calling yourself a socialist, right? What's wrong with saying like I'm pro equality, I'm pro union, I want everybody. See, we got restricted. We're getting restricted for this. We're getting restricted for this, for saying these things. What we're saying is considered radical. I don't want you to rack up a bunch of medical debt and be discouraged from seeking medical care because of the cost. Yeah, what would happen if that stimulus was continuous? You know what would happen? People would have their medication. That's what would happen. People would be able to feed themselves and keep their lights on. They would be able to stay in their abode through losing their job. There wouldn't be as much homelessness if there was just universal income. If there was just universal income, you could sustain a job loss because you know you're getting $500 every Friday. I don't understand what you're saying. My okay, okay. It's not about you. The unemployment system doesn't give enough money. I just want to make sure I'm not even going to answer these people here. You're just putting yourself on blast in my chat. Like, I don't know what a bum is to you. You mean somebody that likely has like a drug problem? Are you talking about somebody that's homeless? I have a great deal of empathy. You know, the majority of homeless people are veterans. The majority of unemployed people are probably veterans too. The majority of disabled people are veterans too. I don't understand. Something good. Daughter's senior year ROTC ball today. Oh boy. Better have fun, good looking. Try not to get in any trouble. Yeah. The majority of homeless people are veterans that were just not cared for. For a long time, the way they treated veterans is if you didn't get hurt or something happened in a combat scenario, they don't give a fuck about you. They tried to treat the combat veterans first. And that just led to an increase in the suicide rate because only 1.5% of all of the people that have ever served have seen combat. You're more likely going to get lied to by a veteran about their involvement in combat than you are to run into a combat veteran. And by the way, I'm not. I frequently say I'm not a war hero. I got very lucky. When I got to the fleet, my initial orders were to 1-9, The Walking Dead, like the TV show, except this was before the TV show. And oddly enough, when I got to 1-9, my first day in the fleet, my first exposure to the fleet, I walked into 1-9's company office and swear to God on my mom, it was everyone in that company E7 and above. Everyone in that unit E7 and above. All standing around, drinking coffee, leaning on shit. They were distraught, bunch of Marines. And I walked in the door, and keep in mind, I'm not a little guy. I'm a big guy. I'm six. I right now this morning I weighed myself. I'm about 6'3" and a half, 293. Okay, so when I got to the fleet, I'm like 6'4", 230 pounds. Like I'm a big fucking guy, right? And when I walk in the door and set my sea bag down and take my hat off and realize, oh shit, I'm in the wrong fucking room. Oh, my life is over. All I saw was shiny shit on people's collars. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get hazed the fuck out of. Like, oh God, oh Jesus. And this gunny walked up to me, for the record. And he said, what's going on, Marine? And I was just like, I got orders to check in here today. And he said, the fuck you do? We just got shut down, son. We are combat inefficient. And I said, I don't understand. And he was like, let me take you outside. And so we went outside and he goes, we had 137 CAS on our last deployment. And I immediately, because I don't know the fucking words, I thought he meant like 130 plus people died. And I was immediately was like, oh my God, that's fucking horrible. And he said, CAS, injury, not death, not KIA. Oh, fuck. Like, okay. And he goes, oh, fuck, Gunny? You better get that shit right. And I was like, oh, fuck, Gunny. And he was like, yeah, rank. Like, don't forget that shit. And you were just in the fucking bee's nest. You were in the hornet's nest of all fucking places you could have been, is in that fucking office where those people's fucking careers were altering. They were all getting sent to different units. They'll probably, many of those people will never see each other again. And they just watch your big ass walk in there to check the fuck in. And I was like, oh my God. And he was like, oh, your God is correct. And he goes, what you need to do is go back where you came from and tell them you need orders. Where did you come from? And if I remember correctly, I got my orders at Camp Geiger. And he was like, come into my office and I'm going to have them send orders so you don't have to drive back to Geiger and back. Right. So if I remember correctly, if I remember that right. So I went in his office and he literally got it. If I remember, he printed it out and he handed it to me and he got you new orders. And my orders were to 2-2, 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines, Weapons Company. So understand this is like 20 years ago. So you don't have the whip out your fucking phone and look it up type shit. That's not happening. Your boy is just everything I own in a fucking sea bag walking across a major fucking road, by the way. Like, what the, looking back on this, it's like, holy shit. 1st Battalion, 9th Marines. 1st Marine Division, 9th Battalion. 05. I left for boot camp August 28th, 2005. So imagine you show up to where you're supposed to be, walk in the fucking door, wrong fucking door. Get absolutely, absolutely helped. He was an angel, let's face it. Got me orders, if I remember that story correctly. I walk across the street, sea bag in fucking hand, Alice pack on, right? All my shit in a bag. Walk into 2-2's company office and they're on a deployment. They're not here. So I'm with the LBE, the left behind element. So for those of you that watch Top Gun and you're like, how does Top Gun and your time on active duty correlate? They fucking don't. I wasn't on an aircraft carrier. I also wasn't a pilot. Okay? So when you join and you get to your unit and they're on a deployment and you're now checking in to the LBE, the left behind element, and the rest of my entire fucking unit is in Iraq, you now are in a prepared mode. You are every day for the first 30 plus days that I was in the fleet, for the first 30 days, I think. Every morning you had to be like ready to get on a C-130 and go. That was your objective. And so because they were on a deployment, there was an LBE, you get people checking into your unit knowing that when people come back from that 5th straight deployment to Iraq, they're getting out of the military. Okay? So we had people checking into our unit, the rest of the units in Iraq. We're in a everyday get prepared mode, and that was 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines, Weapons Company. So when them boys came back off their 5th straight deployment, the average young NCO, so E4 and below, that I met, that I was in the same unit, had been to Iraq 2-3 times in a 4-year period. So when you talk about salty as fuck, them boys coming back off there, like I said, 2nd, 3rd deployment mostly. And a lot of them wanted to go back. You get in that high, that intense environment, and you want more of that, apparently. So when we got selected for the 26 MU, guys were not happy. That's not what they wanted, you know. And for the record, it isn't because of shooty bang bang. It's because they had been in Karma and Mahmadiyah when it was a full thriving city to when it was rubble to when it was rebuilt, and they kind of wanted to be back in that AO area of operation because they were there for its fall, for its rebuild, and it was deeply fucking personal. And keep in mind, infantry, tip of the spear, the guys out there kissing hands and shaking babies or whatever. Um, and also doing all the shooty shooty bang bang, but less of that. Like think not of an infantryman as all bloodthirsty, fucking horrible. Like no, man. People that I was in the Marine Corps infantry with were the most caring, were the most concerned. Think about who I am. Like I'm like a super fucking smart person and I'm not a little guy. I'm a big fucking dude. Why would the fuck would you join the Marine Corps infantry? You literally put your smart ass in harm's way. Why the fuck would you do that? Some old gunny told me, hey, they need smart people in the fucking front lines too. They can't all be in the fucking office, Jared. Somebody's got to tell them. And the funniest shit was that Gunny said, and I quote, "Somebody's got to tell him, hey man, that barrel is gonna fucking melt if you don't stop." And I'll just leave that there for other Marines to pick up. That literally got told to me before I ever checked into any infantry unit. They literally were like, hey, you're a smart fucking guy. Somebody's got to yell, that barrel is going to fucking melt if you don't stop. That's how you end up in the fucking infantry as a smart person. Is when they tell you like they desperately fucking need smart people. I did not all. You have not heard me say one time I was a fucking badass. That shit was a cakewalk. I have not said that at all. I'm just saying as far as like the smarts shit, the common sense, the kind of understand how the machinations all work, right? And for the record, it was a time of great self improvement and great self discovery for me. Learning how to like handle yourself in a completely different environment than, for the record, a lot like being a college athlete. So there's going to be people that ask, what's the correlation between being a college athlete and being an active duty in the Marine Corps? There's a lot of correlation. A lot of correlation. You have to be studious almost all the time. You have to be on your shit. You have to be prepared for a bunch of hurry up and wait. Once you're give yourself to them or give your time to these things, to the military, to playing sports after high school, you're kind of at their whim and whimsy. Like whatever they gotta go do is what we're gonna fucking go do, right? And a lot of it, I've laughed a lot in my life over the fact that I've never heard people bitch about hurry up and fucking wait like they did when I was on active duty. But it's every job I've ever fucking had is you're just standing around waiting on shit to happen. Same thing with fucking college. College was a lot of fucking go here, sit here, fucking wait. That guy talks 15 minutes tops. Then you're going to have to go down, wait in line to ask him a question. Then you're going to go wait in line to go get a drink. Then you're going to go wait in line to get in that next class. And you're going to sit down. You're going to wait on that teacher to fucking get here. They're going to talk for 15 minutes. You are then going to have to get in a line to talk to that second teacher, right? That hurry up and fucking wait largely your entire life. It's just real. It's just real. Hey, we made it through a whole podcast without getting banned from TikTok. So I think that we should play Eat the Rich and get out of here. Okay. Rinse and repeat. Yes, it really is. It really is. The people wonder, like, how come you have such a good attitude? Dude, I learned a long fucking time ago. One day, one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. However the fuck you want to do it, do it. But one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. Because you have to. That's it. You might as well have a good attitude. Because if you have a bad attitude, it's going to be a slog. You have a bad attitude, it's going to suck. This is also where corporate grid. Wife, have a great day. Hey, thanks. Make sure you start searching for the American Socialist Party on Twitter, on Blue Sky, even on Facebook. There's a group. Okay. Okay. I gotta peace out. I gotta work. Guys, have a great day. Guys, take it easy out there.